Welcome back to the History Bunker. My name's TB, and today we'll be talking about Germany's armored divisions in 1939. Now, most people think that Germany had some of the best designed tanks of World War II, and, debatably, might be true later on in the war. But in 1939, it was a different story. In order to understand why this is the case, we need to go back and look at the composition of tanks in Germany in 1939, or more specifically, the forces setting their sights on Poland. At the beginning of the invasion of Poland, Germany had around 1.5 million men, 2.6 thousand tanks, and 3,000 aircraft, while the Poles only had around 600,000 men, a few hundred tanks, and only about 500 aircraft. Keep in mind that Poland was a relatively new country at the time, only being resurrected in late 1918. The Polish army was by no means bad, however, as victory over the Polish-Soviet War of 1921 cemented its legitimacy as a country, but pushed the Poles to base their defensive plans against the Soviets more heavily than the Germans. When Germany invaded, Polish tanks were overwhelmed by the Germans, and mismanagement by the Polish High Command meant that the Polish divisions would be cut off into separate pockets and destroyed. In the end, the Germans overwhelmed the Poles with sheer numbers and were able to move quickly through Poland. Wait, you're probably thinking, I thought this video was saying that the German tanks were underpowered. Doesn't this show they're overpowered? Well, it makes perfect sense for you to think that. There is something you're forgetting, the massive difference in numbers. Let's look at the most popular models of tanks on both sides and compare them. The Germans fielded the relatively new Panzer II, a 9-ton light battle tank equipped with a 20mm K30 autocannon and frontal armor that could only really deflect small arms fire and smaller caliber guns. It was designed to be more of an interim solution, as the Panzer III and Panzer IV development was taking longer than expected, and the Panzer I was completely useless against anything with more armor than a piece of paper. Overall, it wasn't a bad tank in the mid-30s, but it wasn't good by any stretch of the imagination either. By this time, the French already had tanks like the Soma S-35 and the 30-ton monster Char B-1, but we'll get back to that later. The Poles fielded the 7TP, or 7-ton Polish, a tank that weirdly weighed around 10 tons. Its main armament being a 37mm Bofors WZ-37 cannon, and had around the same thickness of frontal armor as the Panzer II. This tank was basically an improved Polish version of the Vickers 6-ton, which again weirdly weighed more. It is clear that the 7TP is better than the Panzer II, as armor and speed-wise they're the same, but the 7TP has the added bonus of a gun that is effective at long range. The Panzer II could only take out 7TPs from close range. So if the 7TP was better, shouldn't the Poles have lasted more than a month? Well, no. Due to the extremely low number, the Germans were simply able to overwhelm the Poles in a numbers beats design strategy the Russians would eventually use to beat them with. We aren't looking for individual tanks, however, so even if the 7TP was better, as a whole the German Panzer Corps wasn't underpowered, right? Well, no. While Poland didn't have the numbers, let's look at a country like France. How does France's tanks compare in 1939? Well, as previously mentioned, the French had the Char B-1 and Soma S-35, as well as a number of other models. French tanks were well armored and equipped with 47mm hardened baguette launchers. Not only were they unable to be taken out by a Panzer II from the front, even at close range, but Panzer IIIs and Panzer IVs had a lot of trouble with them also. Well, it must be another case of the Germans overwhelming them, right? Not this time, as in 1939 France had one of the largest amount of tanks in the world, with only the Soviets surpassing them with around 20,000 tanks. They had 4.2 thousand tanks, more than the Germans had. Clearly the winner in this situation is the French. So why did the French lose then? Why didn't they stop the Germans breaking through the Ardennes? The French thought the Ardennes was uncrossable, and didn't bother wasting many resources in the area. It was a mistake that gave the Germans a window to get around the French defenses and swing up the coast. By the time the French realized, it was too late, and the drawbacks of French tanks became apparent. For as equipped as they were to attack tanks in head-on combat, they were unable to catch up to the Germans, only moving at a snail's pace. With the French army in disarray and the British running for the boats, Germany proved that when used correctly and alongside the other branches of the military, tanks could turn the balance of war. In the end, yes, in 1939, compared to the other great powers at the time, Germany had armored divisions that were underpowered, but the way they used them more than made up for it. Thank you for watching. Please let me know in the comments if you enjoyed the video or if there's something you would like me to improve for next time. All my sources are posted below in the description. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to check out my Twitter, as I will be posting previews and minor channel updates over there. See you next time.